Live from San Francisco on the Sports Byline Broadcasting Network, you are listening to Wrestling Observer Live with your hosts, Bryan Alvarez and Mike Sempervive.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's get it on!
How's it going, everybody? Bryan Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Live. We are here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sundays, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern. We got a lot to talk about today. It is everything's changing coming up over the next couple of weeks. Not only in my life, but in the life of professional wrestling as well. This coming Tuesday, it is the final episode of Smackdown on the USA Network. The following week, Smackdown moves to Fridays on Fox. This will be the final week that NXT is unopposed on Wednesday nights on the USA Network. Once again, it will be NXT for an hour on USA, and then the second hour will air on the WWE Network. And the following week, 2 hours live on the USA Network, going head-to-head with 2 live hours of AEW on TNT. Lots of big changes, and we've got full lineups for all of the shows coming up over the next couple of days. Got a number of matches for both Raw and NXT, which are weird, and we got a SmackDown lineup for Tuesday night. Both Raw and NXT, well, we'll start with Raw. There's a fatal 5-way to determine a number one contender for Seth Rollins' title. Meanwhile, Seth Rollins has been feuding with The Fiend, and they already have a championship match scheduled for Hell in a Cell, which is a week after. So, it appears we're just doing a lame duck 5-way for a lame duck match, which whoever wins is just going to lose next Monday. I don't even see how this makes any sense. And then, on NXT, in what is totally baffling to me, because what they book usually makes sense, last week, we had a Matt Riddle-Killian Dane street fight, a street fight, that went to a no contest, which is now building to a street fight on Wednesday, with the winner getting a shot at Adam Cole. How a street fight goes to a no contest, and then how a street fight going to a no contest builds to another street fight, is beyond me, but that's what they're doing. So some weird things coming up, but hopefully some good shows as well. We'll talk about this when we get back from the break. Wrestling Observer Live.
You are listening to Wrestling Observer Live with Bryan Alvarez and Mike Sempervive on the Sports Byline Broadcasting Network.
Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also WrestlingObserver.com. Well, let's try to figure out what's going on with these shows here. We'll start with Raw tonight. We have a fatal 5-way, number one contenders match, with AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura, Ricochet, Rey Mysterio, and Robert Roode. The winner is getting a title match on the go-home show for Hell in a Cell. So, they've been shooting angles for weeks now about a Bray Wyatt-Seth Rollins match, and then, totally at random, in the middle of this build, we're going to have a number one contenders match and a championship match on the go-home show next week. Unless The Fiend shows up and just lays everybody out. I guess that's possible. Or maybe, like we talked about yesterday, Rey Mysterio can win and then get laid out by The Fiend. The more I think about this, the more baffling it is that the go-home show for a pay-per-view with a well-built-up main event, the go-home show is headlined by a title match. What's happening here?
It's a good question. I can't even answer. Nothing logical. It doesn't make any real sense unless they have some sort of wacky plan, I would assume. And I don't think there's going to be a wacky plan. I think they're just trying to throw something up in the way that may try to change your mind or make you forget about the fact for a minute that Bray Wyatt actually is scheduled to have that next title match coming up. So we'll have to see what happens. I think the obvious answer is Rey Mysterio gets crushed the same way that Jerry Lawler and Kane and a couple other people have already. So that's what it seems like to me. But who the heck knows what happens now with all of the stuff going on and how desperate they feel or whatever they feel when it comes to putting on this stuff tonight.
We've also got tonight Sasha Banks versus Nikki Cross, new edition of Bray Wyatt's Firefly Funhouse, and yes, Baron Corbin, Chad Gable.
Shouldn't the Firefly Funhouse be further up on the talking points card?
Well,
for tonight, we're talking about Bray Wyatt.
I mixed it around myself. On the actual deal, the Bray Wyatt Firefly Funhouse takes precedence, but
it's crazy. I'm sorry. There's still a little part of me that just is baffled by this. Again, the character
it's fun.
It is. It absolutely is. It really, really is. But of 3 hours, this is what we're looking for on the wrestling show.
Yes,
I'd love to see how they're going to continue to build off of this. I hope they're able to build off of this somehow. I just don't know. Well, this is a new thing not a new thing, I guess, because you've had The Undertaker and lighting Vince McMahon's teddy bear on fire and these sorts of things. It's not like it's completely foreign concept.
Dude, I watched a guy choke slam his brother onto his parents' bones.
Well, yes. I mean, for some of the ridiculous stuff that we've had here, we'll see. But it stands out as such a special thing, and they're doing so much right with it. But in some ways, it's the only thing, and they're sacrificing. They sacrificed Seth Rollins last week to do that. The sniveling coward, the shaking, crying, almost, reaction that it looked like they got out of Seth Rollins. It's like, whew, how do you continue to build Bray Wyatt up as this mystical character who is, completely lays waste to everybody? I wonder what hero they're going to have to develop to actually face off against this guy, because at some point they're going to need a hero, and they don't have many heroes unless their name is Roman Reigns, and I don't care how dressed up the Fiend is or how cute that Hollywood mask is he's got on. We've seen Roman Reigns and Bray Wyatt before, and again, as it stands right now, there's nothing that they've done that will make what happens in the ring any different.
Smackdown, we have got Charlotte. Oh, my God. I should have read this before I read it. Charlotte and Carmella versus Bayley and Sasha. We have got Daniel Bryan agreeing to meet with Roman Reigns to clear the air between them. And a sit-down interview with WWE Champion Kofi Kingston ahead of his title defense against Brock Lesnar on the Fox premiere. So, listen, we'll see where this goes, okay? But let me just give you a quick recap of what's been going on with Daniel Bryan. Originally, they were going to do Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns at SummerSlam, but Vince decided that a week-and-a-half build was not enough. Now, why he didn't start the build earlier, because it's his show, don't ask. So he decided to put it off, and in order to put it off, he came up with the storyline of Roman Reigns is nearly killed by a mysterious assailant. The assailant was going to be Daniel Bryan. But then, every week, he changed this, he changed that. Next thing you know, we got a fake vintner. Next thing you know, Rowan is the guy who attacked Roman Reigns. And as of, I can't say this weekend, I didn't hear an update this weekend, but as of last week, the plan was for Eric Rowan and Luke Harper to team up against Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan. Now, what happens tomorrow? You got me, dude. Luke Harper debuted on a Sunday. Vince called him on a Friday. So that means that when he shot the go-home angle for that last pay-per-view, it was Wednesday, Thursday. It was 3 days after shooting the go-home angle that he said, hey, Luke Harper, can you show up on Sunday? That's what we're dealing with here. So we'll find out what happens on Tuesday with Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns.
I mean, they're going to team together, right? And then they're going to face off against Harper and Rowan. And Daniel Bryan's going to turn on him, right? I mean,
I don't know.
Reigns has got to be Sting, right? I mean,
I think
he's got to be.
I presume.
Is it this month or next month, though? I mean, does he do it now or do they wait?
Well, they got a pay-per-view next week, so I'm sure Vince is probably thinking, we don't want to rush this. I'll give it another month.
Well, here the thing is, I mean, the pay-per-view is going to fall now less than a month away from that one, right? I mean, we're looking at the
Survivor
2nd
Series.
and 31st.
Hey, listen. If you're going to Sting, well, I guess that wouldn't work because it'd be a Survivor Series match. There'd be 8 guys in there. I don't know what they're going to do, dude. He doesn't know what he's going to do. You kidding me? Are you kidding me? Even when he knows what he's going to do, he does something different.
So why am I supposed to have faith in the Bray Wyatt thing then? I turn myself into
there's not a storyline.
Knots trying to.
Because there's a difference, Mike. There's no storyline. He's a fiend who wants the title. That's literally the storyline. This Roman Reigns, Vintner, fake Vintner, Luke Harper. I mean, this is a story. This is the famous male soap opera. It makes no sense. It's totally different. Let's go to the phones. You're on the air. What's going on?
Hello.
Well, hello.
Hi, it's Joe from Minnesota. I just want to say, first off, congratulations on your new kid.
Thank you. The new kid.
Yeah.
She does cry like a goat, so I'm totally fine with that description, by the way. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I was thinking, over these past, while I've been a wrestling fan, and, recently, a year ago, I just got a girlfriend. She's also into wrestling, and I watch Smackdown weekly with her on Tuesday, and that's kind of a wrestling day. And over time, we've really noticed that the storylines with the women and all that, they've just really been
horrible.
More of the same over and over again with different people.
Yes.
It just makes me upset because a lot of the women are very talented, and you watch NXT, and hopefully AEW is the same way, and the women aren't portrayed as these women who argue with each other over just the silliest little things, oh, I look better than you or something. It's just they're to win titles.
We had a tag team match. We had a tag team match that featured one blonde who made fun of people's looks, who was a heel, versus another blonde who made fun of people's looks, who is inexplicably right now a babyface. In one match.
Exactly.
Well, Brian, you understand that these people, they just want you to know that to be cool. Really, this is
what
just
is your
the updated
girlfriend?
version of it.
What does your girlfriend think of these women's storylines and how the women are portrayed?
Oh my God, she hates it. She's very excited for AEW because she just wants something different with how women are portrayed in wrestling. And I mean, she hasn't really been into NXT, really. I mean, she doesn't know a lot of women. I got to explain a lot of it to her. But
well, you should make her watch that because it's better there.
Have you shown her Nick Gage?
I should, yes. Yeah, but I'm thinking one of the problems maybe that a lot of it's just men writing the show, and probably men who don't, really talk to women to figure out what they would like to see.
Yes, I want to thank you very much for the call. We actually got to go. I'll talk more about this after the break. Wrestling Observer Live.
You are listening to Wrestling Observer Live with Bryan Alvarez and Mike Sempervive on the Sports Byline Broadcasting Network.
Back on the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. My main man, Dom, here as well. And also Sempervive. Thank you, Dom, for reminding me right as we came back from the break what I wanted to talk about. So anyway, I don't know how many women are on the WWE creative team, but there's
Warrior.
There's between 30 and 40 people on the creative team at any given time, and the number of women is 1 or 2. I'm not even exaggerating. It's 1 or 2. So, I mean, that tells you everything that you need to know.
And those women apparently aren't even in touch with themselves coming up with these types of stories there.
I mean, I will say, how can I explain this? So, AEW is going to do it a lot better. NXT does it a lot better. And both of them do it a lot better because one of the things, and I can't believe I'm kind of sort of defending the way that WWE does the women's storylines, but they don't do the same storylines because Seth Rollins never cuts a promo on Bray Wyatt saying, "You're ugly and I'm hot." So they don't do that. But WWE does soap opera storylines with the men, and so they do soap opera storylines with the women. Now, unfortunately, the soap opera storylines they do with the women are written by men, and I don't want to come on here and say it's a bunch of men that don't like women, and I don't want to say it's a bunch of men that don't have wives or girlfriends, but I mean, let's be honest. If you watched it, you'd think that. I mean, I know. Forget it. Anyway.
You're right. Look, hey, if you want to try to give them some semblance of credit, you can either look at this as giving them credit or this is a storyline they forgot about. They did do a good job, at least in my opinion, with the subtle teasing of Benedetto, or what the hell is her name? Mandy Rose and Fire and Desire there. Sonya Deville, thank you. I thought they were doing a good job with that, with the looks, with the hair flips, with that sort of stuff. Now, either they've forgotten about that, or, honestly, or they're purposely, holding it off. They had been doing a good job that way. If you want to try to give them credit for something, but it's like that seems to now have been dropped altogether. So I don't know if that's just one of those things that has been dropped, again, mid-sequence, or they're intentionally holding off on it. If they're intentionally holding off on it, I think that's actually really good, and that should be noted. But the problem is with them, I have no idea what's what, because they go in, they have the tag match at the pay-per-view and all that stuff, and right now we're back to square one, where I guess the only thing, important part of that act is Mandy Rose is on the cover of Maxim or whatever it is.
WWE's made you talked about that. NXT, we got a 6-man tag. Walter has challenged Kushida to find 2 partners to face Imperium. We have also got the Dominik Dijakovic versus Keith Lee match, the return of Dakota Kai. And yes, I don't want to harp on this, but Matt Riddle versus Killian Dane in a street fight. Coming off Matt Riddle versus Killian Dane in a street fight a week ago that went to a no contest. How do you have a street fight go to a no contest is question number 1. And question number 2, if, for example, you do have a street fight that goes to a no contest, why don't you put him in a cage? Why would you go to another street fight? I mean, as a viewer, shouldn't I be thinking, well, maybe this one's also going to go to a no contest? Since they told me last week a street fight can go to a no contest. I am baffled by that booking. But that's what they're doing. Winner gets a championship match against Adam Cole.
Well, why did he go to a no contest last week, though?
Because they brawl all over the place and dudes got involved. That can't happen this week?
Nah, but I think
it can.
Maybe, you're
Absolutely
right,
it can.
Maybe it's just a matter of a little bit of
Unless
laziness.
they were in a cage.
Well, matter of just maybe a little bit of laziness there. Maybe it was just we'll have to hear Lord Steven Regal come out, and maybe it's just a matter of, hey, it just got out of control, but, that there was a hot way to end the show, but okay, now we're serious. They're going to be in there. Look, I don't know what the reasoning is. We'll have to find out. Maybe they actually have a real legitimate reason for it. On NXT, I have a little bit more hope. At the very least, I have more hope that they'll explain it away as to the reason why. So I'm not going to bang on it yet until Wednesday night is over with and we have our reasoning for what happened, if there is going to be one.
This person here says, are you going to admit you were incorrect about Lacey and the cop? What was I incorrect about?
No, in fact,
I mean, the one thing I don't even know if I mentioned this yesterday, but the one thing that was incorrect was Natty on Twitter said that the cop was like her uncle or something like that. And that's not true. The cop and Natty are not related at all. Other than that, it was a real arrest. And she was in character. She was not. It was not a real arrest. It was not an arrest. She was pulled over. She got a ticket. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That was real. And then they
worked the rest of it. And people are stupid because they responded like morons to it. These are, with all due respect, wrestling fan, if you're the wrestling fan that is getting way too panties in a twist over how the Fox football announcers are talking about what happens when the wrestlers appear on screen, when they're not trying to be insulting or demeaning to wrestling, they're just saying their dumb thing about wrestling, even if they don't know anything about wrestling. So they say something about Nacho Libre, and they see Rey Mysterio and go, hey, he's kind of like Nacho Libre. Yes, it's a dumb football announcer who doesn't know anything about wrestling. That does not require you to have and give a long series of tweet responses showing your ass, trying to tell these guys what they're saying is wrong and how they're insulting the business. Shut up. I just, between that and the people that went so out of their way to actually throw fits over the fact that Lacey Evans, worked an angle with a cop and think that that's completely believable and just threw themselves and tied themselves in the knots over it. Lord have mercy. I guess it worked. I guess maybe it worked too well. But it was just completely ridiculous this morning when I found out she actually had to apologize for it. And the interaction she had, it's just so silly. In 2019, I mean, it's been said by you and by many others before. We went from a time where things on the internet, you couldn't believe any of them. You took them with the grains of salt that they deserved. And now it's just instant reaction to it. And no matter if it's real or not, we're going to take it as real. As we shake it through the sieve, we'll find out what actually is true and what's not. It's just insane to me.
This person says, did you see the comments Nyla Rose made on Twitter and subsequently deleted? She is not representing AEW well at all on social media. Yes, everybody in every wrestling company, well, let me put it this way. Every wrestling company should require every wrestler to undergo some form of social media training because everybody in every company is doing this. They're not always doing this, but you see this in every company. People go nuts on Twitter. I mean, years ago, we were talking about how there should be a breathalyzer attached to Twitter, or if you're drunk, you can't tweet. I mean, it happens in WWE. It's happened now in AEW. I'm sure it's happened in Impact. I mean, use the block button is what I recommend.
No, you know what it is? It's just don't open the app or put the phone down. Don't start typing it out, let alone hit send. Don't even start typing it out. You can't win. And it's either going to be you die at your own hand or you're just sitting there bantering back and forth with someone that does not have any interest in having reasoned logic with you. It is just about getting you to respond. So I'm not defending what Nyla Rose said or whoever. I mean, whether it be Jim Ross or whoever it is, whoever the person of the day is that's getting skewered for the dumb thing that they tweeted. It's just that simple. Don't open it up. Put the phone down.
So WWE and their anti-AEW fans making a mistake by melting down over Kenny on today's Being the Elite. What did he do today? Now I'm excited.
He was a dork.
What did he do?
He was just sitting there and playing it up, and he was sitting in front of a picture of him on the PWI, just healing it up, being a geek. So I have a feeling you'll.
So he's doing exactly what I said he was doing, which he's turning heel.
Well, yeah, you'll have a full breakdown of this, I'm sure, on tonight's
I can't wait.
Radio for subscribers over at WrestlingObserver.com. I mean, I'm sure that he could do it more justice, but yeah. So Kenny Omega is now taking this and just, pushing it to the nth.
Good for him.
No,
dude, I'm just flabbergasted because heels used to do heelish things all the time, and it's that's what they did. Now you do something heelish, and there's an outcry on Twitter. Get out of here! I mean, come on. What's going on here? You can't be a pro wrestler and do something heelish without people coming after you with a pitchfork. Are you kidding me? Now, granted, that is a lot better than stabbing and shooting people like people used to do in the old days. But still, this is no different than how it's always been. You find a button to push, because you're a heel, and you push it, and you get people riled up. What amazes me is people can't see what this is. That's, I guess, what amazes me the most. What's happened to wrestling fans? Open your eyes, everybody. It's a work.
You're only allowed to have one bad guy, which is MJF, but we gotta have him just say a bunch of insulting things, but really still like him instead. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's bizarre, really.
Back in the day, there were so many things that were common phrases back in the day that you don't hear anymore. And one of them was, everything's a work. That was, everything is a work was said to the degree that, in professional wrestling, a lot of professional wrestlers actually believe that everything is a work. The Super Bowl's a work, the NFL's a work, it's all a work to lead to a Super Bowl. I had older wrestlers telling me that as recently as a few years ago. I mean, now we're in this era where people think everything is real, and if you say something that's not very nice, they're actually offended by it. Oh, I'm not going to watch AEW. I can't believe Kenny Omega said that about Dominic Dijakovic or whatever.
Yeah,
I refuse to watch this show.
It's selective outrage, though, and you know it. So it's just, again, it's button pushing, and Omega's been good at pushing the buttons. We'll see what happens with Seth Rollins to see if his buttons were some of the ones that got pushed.
Back in a moment, Observer Live.
You are listening to Wrestling Observer Live with Bryan Alvarez and Mike Sempervive on the Sports Byline Broadcasting Network.
Back on the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. Let's go to the phones. You're on the air. What's going on?
Hey, Bryan. This is Kenny in Myrtle Beach. Just wanted to say congratulations to you and your family on your blessed event.
Thank you.
Got a quick question about WrestleMania week, and I haven't heard it answered, and I'm a little curious because with all of these schedule changes, with NXT going live now, I can't imagine what that's going to do to the week schedule, because before, when you had Smackdown on Tuesdays, the Smackdown crew would have at least 4 days to recuperate before WrestleMania Sunday, and the NXT crew would have their TV done pretty much 3 weeks before TakeOver. So now if they're expecting SmackDown and NXT to be live, how's that going to affect their recuperation period before Mania? And as well, the scheduling of the Hall of Fame, the scheduling of TakeOver or Worlds Collide or whatever they choose to call it. And also, have you heard anything about the Hall of Fame and if they're planning to go back to the previous setup on the stage given last year's security issue?
I will ask all of those questions, and I will try to get the answer to you either today or tomorrow. But, I mean, one thing, I will address one thing. As far as, like, NXT going on Wednesdays and SmackDown going on Fridays, I realize it is WrestleMania, but the reality is there are WWE pay-per-views 11 months out of the year that are not WrestleMania. Yeah. And on those weeks, those wrestlers are working like Friday and Saturday night. So you don't need that recuperative time before WrestleMania. I mean, for 99% of the wrestlers,
it's not a real fight, guys.
They're just going to do the same kind of match they would do on any other pay-per-view.
Well, yeah.
So,
it's
yeah.
I guess I sort of get it. I mean, from a sporting point of view, yeah. And I guess if you are an adrenaline dump point of view, I guess. I don't know. I can see why sometimes you would maybe want risky injury or whatever. You would want guys off closer to it. But, I mean, all of these logistics are going to be worked out. And obviously they're already thinking about them now because they have to think about them from a production point of view. And that's, again, this whole first quarter is going to be really interesting. And one of the reasons why is I think, much like you, at some point they're going to take NXT on the road. And I wonder how many more jobs are going to be added out of this? How many more production teams? Are we going to have an extra production team? Who takes up some of the weight here? The network's going to be changing, and we've been hearing about, different content producers adding things on. And again, this whole thing is going to be very, very interesting here logistically, on top of the fact, again, you get the XFL starting too, so who knows? I mean, it's going to be really hard to predict what happens because in some ways, at least, again, from a setup point of view, from an everything but an in-ring point of view, I mean, the logistics of everything that are going to happen, I mean, this is all going to be brand new. So we'll just have to see what happens.
All right, hey, let's go to the phones. You're on the air. What's going on?
Hey, how's it going, guys? I saw the NXT on USA Network. The quality didn't look that good. I've seen phone cameras that had better quality than that show.
What are you talking about?
Damn, Jaime, really?
Well, I mean, when I seen it on the network, the quality looked pretty good. It looked HD, but I don't know, it looked kind of fuzzy to me when it was on USA.
I thought it looked exactly the same, but okay.
I don't know. I guess,
what else?
Yeah, I guess I was watching it through my AEW goggles, but I hope AEW.
Are you watching through rabbit ears too?
I hope AEW doesn't follow the NXT formula, just good matches. Because, yeah, when there's matches, we want them to be good like that. But, the overall hook, it should be, the drama, the soap opera aspect. That's what makes people want to keep on watching, shows that already got canceled, but when they were in their time, Game of Thrones or Breaking Bad, it's, what's going to happen with these characters? You get me?
Well, yeah, that's what I hope that we get with AEW, and we get that with NXT. We just don't get it with the main roster. And again, everybody, we don't know what AEW is going to do for TV. I don't know if it's going to be match. I don't know what they're going to do. We have no idea what they're going to do. They haven't run a television show yet.
Librarians, I'll be okay.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do, everyone. I can't help you. We'll find out, however, in 2 weeks.
And here's going to be a crazy thing, too, that happens. I know. Hear me out, everybody. They're going to run a show, and guess what? They're going to make changes and figure out what happened on that show. At least I hope they are. So maybe if we watch the first show and you don't love it, it's not the end of the world. And maybe if you do, that it's not like the greatest thing that's ever been presented. The whole thing is going to need to take time. And I know, obviously we're going to be bantering about it. So that's, but still, there needs to be some patience involved in this. And there's going to be a learning curve for everyone involved. I mean, we used to make jokes about NXT, Kevin Owens and Shinsuke Nakamura. It's like, how long does it take them to figure out where the hard camera is? How long does it take Prince Devitt to figure out where the hard camera is? Used to make those jokes. But, they have been hitting commercial times, and they have been hitting a lot of things that, guess what? Private Party hasn't had to do before, and that a lot of people on that roster haven't had to do before, and a lot of different things. It's different running live TV, and they got a lot of really experienced people there helping to do it and set it up and everything, and some really experienced agents and all, but it is still going to be a learning curve for a lot of that roster that's going to be appearing on TV, certainly at that level, for the first time. So, again, it's not the end of the world if things don't happen to get off, without hitches. It's give them some time and let's see what happens.
Is tomorrow the last episode of 205 Live? No, but I don't know what they're going to do yet. They haven't announced it. What I think they're going to do is I think the 205 Live is going to move to Wednesdays. I think it will air either before or after NXT on the USA Network. But I don't know. Everything, they'll announce it after tomorrow's over, I'm sure. Or maybe they'll announce it today. I have absolutely no idea. This person here says, they are booking Bray like a heel. Everyone absolutely loves him. No one else comes close. Well, yes, they are. And, the thing is, if the people that the fans cheer are the ones that you book as baby faces, and the people that the fans boo are the ones that you book as heels, you're going to have a promotion where, nobody wants to see the heels because, they suck. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? You got to have talented people that work as heels. You have to have talented people. The fans, it's a new gimmick.
Baby faces.
It's a new gimmick. It's cool. That's why people are cheering, but they want the guy to be a bad guy. They want the Fiend. They don't want the Fiend to be friendly and fighting the heels. You know what I'm saying? That's what they want. So, yes, I realized that several years ago, this thing happened where they wanted to do something with Daniel Bryan, and the fans forced them to change it, okay? But that is an aberration in WWE history. John Cena was booed forever as the top babyface. Roman Reigns booed forever as the top babyface. They had babyfaces or heels that were cheered like crazy. They still pushed him as heels. They do. The stories they tell this year have sucked, okay? But they do want to tell stories. And so they have people that are bad, and they have people that are good, and they also have fans that buy tickets and go there and are unpredictable. And you can't necessarily change all of your booking because fans happen to like a new guy's character. That's my thoughts. Maybe someday somebody could book a promotion where the people the fans really like are all the baby faces, and the Baron Corbins and the people that they think suck are all the heels, and you try and put storylines together like that. I don't think that's going to work out very well, but I could be wrong.
How do you think this whole Rusev, Maria, Mike Bennett storyline works out for Mike Bennett, considering that they are officially getting Maury on the phone, I guess, to find out who is the father
they are
of Maria's
doing.
baby?
They may bring in Maury. I don't know if they're actually going to do it or not. But
they got Maury out here cutting a promo on.
Yes, they're strongly teasing
on the Twitter
this.
here. So yeah, and the picture of Mike Bennett that they're using too to make sure it looks like he is as emasculated as possible, looking like he's sitting there hunched over with B cups. Yeah, would you do the storyline just to get on TV? Do you think this is?
Are you kidding me?
Would you collect that paycheck?
Are you absolutely kidding me? Get out of here.
There are people that are actually defending that as well, Mike Bennett wouldn't be on TV any other way. I guess so, but you know what? and you got to do some wacky things sometimes in pro wrestling, especially when you're in WWE, when you're at their mercy and everything. But this this is beyond special. And this is something that Mike Bennett is really going to wear forever. And it's amazing that, Ring of Honor, I don't know, I was going back and watching old HD net shows just because of how everything shook out with Access and everything, and I was being reminded of those old ROH shows that Jim Cornette was on and Dave Lagana had produced with Mike Hogwood and out there slapping the porpoise. And you see Mike Bennett, and you see how he's introduced and how this guy is going to be the next thing, and how he evolved in ROH, the work in New Japan, a lot of it obviously helped out by his wife, and Mike Bennett certainly did. He certainly leveled out to me, and he was only going to make it to a certain level, whereas guys like Adam Cole and there's others who I believed in a lot more, and I've seen them ascend to a little bit higher level, but I never thought you'd see this guy in the position that he's in, and if this is what his end game was, if this is what he's happy with, that's awesome, but wow. I'm still blown away with doing this type of angle in 2019 and the fact that somebody's got to be at the end of it. And, boy, Mike, I hope it's worth it, buddy.
Dude.
I know, the response will be, too, by the way, the tough guy response will be, well, I get to go home to Maria and all that stuff. I guess so, dude.
You know what? You can stay home with Maria.
Exactly. Your chosen profession, when this is what you chose to do and this is ultimately what you're going to be, God bless you, buddy. Good luck.
Let me read this. When it comes to social media, why do you think Twitter has been so evil, but YouTube has been so good to wrestlers? Dude, this is the simplest question to answer. If somebody calls into this show, they say something that makes me very angry, okay? If I'm going to do a response on YouTube, I have to wait till this show is over. I have to set up my camera or my phone or whatever. I have to record the video. If there's any editing to be done, I need to edit the video. Then I need to upload. I mean, there's so much stuff that has to be done before that thing is seen by anybody. There's plenty of time for me to go, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Somebody makes me mad on this show, I can grab my phone right now and send out a tweet in 15 seconds and say something really stupid. And by the time I have a chance to think about it, it's been seen by 75,000 people or whatever. So that's the big difference. The barrier to entry to tweet is non-existent. But in order to make a video on YouTube, you actually got to go through a lot of things, and you could think, you know what? That was a dumb thing that I just recorded right there. And you can not post it. So that's the big difference.
I just like texting people recklessly, directly. Just getting it out of the way. Forget about the middleman. Forget about anybody showing off and seeing it. You got something reckless to text, or to tweet out there, just direct it at one person. Like Bryan, for example.
This person wants to know if there's any update on AEW in Canada. No. All I know is that Cody promised that there would be something, but we don't know yet. So we're just waiting. And hopefully they have an answer pretty soon, because we're just a couple of weeks away right here. But I think the reality is, even if there isn't anything on the debut day, I mean, unless the show does like a terrible number, they're probably going to get some TV outlet in Canada. Back in a moment with more Observer Live.
Listening to Wrestling Observer Live with Bryan Alvarez and Mike Sempervive on the Sports Byline Broadcasting Network.
Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also WrestlingObserver.com. So, yes, we got a lot of shows coming up. Tonight, of course, is Raw with the very random five-way to determine a number one contender on the go-home show for Seth Rollins and his championship. We got the Hell in a Cell taking place the following Sunday. Also tonight, we have got Bayley in the corner of Sasha Banks as she faces Nikki Cross, and a rematch of Baron Corbin, Chad Gable. That match was great, so hey, let's do it again. It's taking place tonight. Tomorrow on Smackdown, we have the baffling Charlotte Flair and Carmella against Bayley and Sasha Banks, and a sit-down interview with Kofi and the Daniel Bryan, Roman Reigns Clear the Air segment. And then for NXT on Wednesday, Imperium, Marcel Bartel, Fabian Eichner, and Alexander Wolf will be taking on Kushida and two partners. So no Walter. He was in town. He is no longer in town. So it is just those guys. And Matt Riddle, Killian Dane in a street fight to determine number one contender for Adam Cole. And Dominic Dijakovic, not what you think, versus Keith Lee.
Never saw that match before.
That's the next 3 days. So check it out, everybody. And we got a new Observer Radio up on Saturday and Sunday this week. A new one out tonight as well, so 3 straight days of Observer Radio. Back tomorrow here on Observer Live. Tomorrow also, the Bryan and Vinny and Craig Show, Retro Raw and Nitro from 19 years ago this week. That, as always, shall be a fun time. You can get all of this and more as a subscriber at WrestlingObserver.com, so head up there and check it out. And that is it, everybody. I want to thank Mike, as always, callers and listeners, everybody in the studio. We'll talk to you next time. Wrestling Observer Live.